Hello, hello, hello. Buenas noches. Good evening. Hey, y'all. It's Wednesday, so I'm here live on YouTube. Let me turn the volume up just a smidge. I'm here on YouTube, and if you are joining me live, let me know in the chat. If you're watching this on the replay, hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, I forgot what I was going to tell y'all. Here we are. What is this? This is November 2021, and we are still knee deep in the pandemic. There's no way I would have believed we would still be in the pandemic back in February of 2020. We all know the pandemic has impacted like every aspect of our lives, including travel. Right now, I am in the middle of trying to plan trips to about 6 different countries over the next few months. And I am to the point that I am about to pull out my hair. I love travel. Pre-pandemic, I was somebody who was in a different country every month. But right now, y'all, this pandemic has me about to cry. It is making travel so hard. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Why I think that travel sucks right now. And what can we do about it? I'm hoping that y'all can help me out, that this can be kind of like a group assignment, that we can come up with ways that maybe I haven't thought about to make my upcoming trips happen. Hey, y'all. I see everybody in the comments. Glad y'all could come on out this Wednesday evening. Today is Wednesday, right? If you are watching this and you are brand new to this channel and you have no idea who I am, hey, let me introduce myself. My name is Adelia Borshade, but a lot of folks know me as Picky Girl Travels or Picky Girl Travels the World. I help Black women live life on their terms, whatever that means. And sometimes that means I help them get their money together so that they can travel, so that they can move abroad, so that they can pursue financial independence. Sometimes it means something else. But you should definitely realize that this channel kind of sits at the intersection of money, finances, and travel. And if those are topics you are interested in, be sure to subscribe. If you haven't already, turn on notifications so that you'll know when I go live, like I've been trying to do every Wednesday. So is anybody else planning travel? I'm trying. I'm so trying. But y'all, travel used to be easy. Didn't we take that for granted? How easy it was to travel? You're like, I want to go to Mexico on Thursday, and you could book a ticket Thursday morning and be there. That is not my life right now, and I am struggling making that adjustment. I am really struggling. And I found myself the other day, earlier this week, saying like, I don't like travel. Travel is hard right now and I don't like it. And like I said, I used to go somewhere every month. I had a trip planned and now I am struggling. I haven't taken like a for pleasure international trip since January 2020. I moved from China back to Mexico in July 2020. I don't really count that as travel per se. That was more like the great escape from China. And I've had a couple of trips between Mexico and the US, but again, that wasn't for fun. That was, to help out a sick grandkid, to get vaccinated. None of that was for fun. So I have done a little travel in Mexico. And, when I did that, it was at the height of the pandemic. So I guess I was expecting things to be a struggle, but right now, y'all, I'm 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 really struggling. Um, Leona, I'm planning on leaving in January and having some confidence issues. Confidence issues in like taking the trip that you're planning. Are you moving? What are you doing, Leona? Toya says, I really wanted to go to Costa Rica for my birthday in December, but I'm concerned about COVID testing requirements to return to the US. That is one of the top annoyances at the top of my list. And y'all, nobody has to tell me that I'm coming from a privileged place, but I have had 2 COVID tests. So unpleasant. I would rather never do that again. And it looks like I'm going to have to. Every year, my best friend and I travel for like Christmas, New Year's, that sort of thing. Last year, because where could we go last year this time? She came here to Mexico and we hung out in Cabo San Lucas. She didn't need a COVID test to go back to the US, but of course, all of that has changed. And when I first had to go to the US, I was like, ugh, I don't want to do this. It was such an unpleasant situation. Well, I was planning for our trip next month. We're hoping to go to Italy. None of that has been worked out because everything is still up in the air. But I was hoping to travel from Mexico, direct flight, limit the number of countries I had to go into, limit all of that, only to find out that Mexico is a E-list country for Italy, which means they are not accepting tourists. So like all of my plans are up in the air. Let's see what y'all talking about in the comments. Yeah. So here's the thing, like here in Mexico, because I saw somebody made a comment about the government tripping here in Mexico. I did a video about the immigration situation here right now. And if you're coming to Mexico, I think I did that video 2 weeks ago, maybe. Yeah, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. If you're coming to Mexico just to visit, you don't have anything to worry about. The people who are really struggling coming to Mexico are folks who intend to live here on a tourist visa. We have been saying for years that, eventually the Mexican Immigration Service would get computerized and they would start to be able to spot patterns of people who had been perpetual tourists. Well, that is what is happening now. So if it looks like you are trying to live here on a tourist visa, it's going to be harder to get a whole 180 days on your entry. But if you're coming here because you want to hang out for 3 weeks, a month, those people aren't really having struggles. But yeah, but there are lots of people here. Y'all know a couple weeks ago we had Day of the Dead, and in that video I talked about the fact that Day of the Dead happened that same week. There was Formula One racing here in Mexico City. Next week is a huge rock music festival, Corona Capital. There's like all this stuff. Traffic has been horrendous here. There are so many people. And the thing is, I guess I got kind of spoiled during the pandemic and the lockdown and all of that. So I'm not used to there being so many people again. I'm not used to the traffic. Oh my gosh, the traffic is, it's back to normal for Mexico City, but it is so bad. And then there's just everything is open. So like I know we all want to travel, but trying to do that is hard. Some of the issues that I'm running into, and maybe y'all can help me here. So like next month, I am trying to go to Italy. Well, just choosing that location has been tricky, trying to figure out, well, where can US passport holders go? I'm and having to check that constantly because everything changes. Like here in Mexico, we've talked about how Mexico has a stoplight system, and green means everything is good. You're 100% open. There's yellow, there's orange and red. And for the longest, Mexico City could not get out of orange or red. There are 32 states in Mexico. 31 of them are all green now, only with the exception of Baja California. They are orange, I think. Everybody else is green. So like here, it seems like, oh, everything's great. Um, you know, everything's a go. Actually, when you look at the COVID numbers, the official numbers, the hospital numbers are really low. So it looks like things are great here. But then, I'm thinking about going to Europe next month, but people talk about, oh, they're getting ready to have their fourth or fifth wave of COVID. So does that mean they are going to shut down? They're going to restrict who can come? Somebody, I mentioned that I can't travel to Italy from Mexico because Mexico is an E-list country. The US, I don't know how recently this happened, but the US is a D-list country. That's funny to say. For Italy, US is a D-list country. So you can go, but if you have been, what is it? I think if you have been in a D-list country for the previous 5 or 14 days before you get to Italy, you have to have a COVID test. And of course, you have to be vaccinated. If you're not vaccinated, most of the places I have been looking at are like, too bad, so sad, you can't come here. So I guess it's sort of disconcerting because here in the country I am living in, things seem to be like, okay, we're open, anybody can come, but all these other countries have restrictions. Flexibility. I mean, like flexibility was the word for traveling before, but right now, especially, and I think you're exactly right, Angela, it is a moving target, and it's so frustrating trying to make plans aiming at a moving target. So it's like, at what point do you book your tickets? I have in the past, I would have chosen destinations simply by what kind of flight deal can I find. But I don't know. Are y'all booking flight deals? Because personally, I'm a little afraid to, because like what was there? There was a really good flight deal to Tokyo, but like they were having some serious COVID problems. So you don't want to book this ticket that then you eventually can't use. I don't know. So are y'all booking? Are you feeling comfortable enough to book flight deals? I have not. I keep hearing travel post COVID. Yes, I am right with you, F Doctor. I think people forget that we are still living in a pandemic, so restrictions are going to be different around the world. Yeah, this is not post COVID travel. This is still traveling during a pandemic. It's a different phase of the pandemic, but we're still in a pandemic. Eartha, my plan is to visit Mexico in April, dependent on COVID cases and travel restrictions. Well, who knows what COVID cases are going to look like, but Mexico, if there's one thing that has been a constant throughout the pandemic, Mexico has not closed its borders. Mexico has not required a COVID test or anything like that. I do not see that changing at all. Mexico has kind of doubled down in that we trying to make money, kind kind of screw people in the meantime. So I don't think you have to worry about that. But, who knows what the COVID numbers will be then. See, now this is another reason I have been hesitant to book tickets. And okay, today is November 17th. I'm theoretically leaving for Italy maybe December 20th, 21st, 22nd, somewhere around there. This is a month out and I haven't booked the ticket, but this is the main reason I haven't. My sister and I are supposed to be going to Greece, but our flights are getting canceled and rebooked. The last thing I want is for an airline to have a chunk of my money because I know they are going to fight me tooth and nail not to give it back. I think I mentioned to y'all that when I was trying to leave China, the US airlines, although they technically were not flying in and out of China at the time, they would sell tickets for future flights. And people would book them, but because they hadn't got approval from the Chinese government, the flights kept getting canceled. Somebody I knew who was trying to leave the same time I was had over 6,000 USD tied up in flights waiting on refunds. So that has me that has made me very leery because I don't think they are wanting to give refunds. I'm not willing to put in the effort and the fight necessary. So I have been that's been one of the big ways that this pandemic has changed the way I travel. I used to think nothing of booking a flight 10 months out. Now here it is almost a month out and I still have no flight. She said we've been fighting with Expedia and Air France. Yeah. And that's a lesson that I have learned during the pandemic is that if at all possible, book your airfare directly with the airline, because booking through a third party like Expedia, Priceline, that's just one more hurdle you have if you're trying to get a refund. And they're supposed to refund you your money, but they're not going to make it easy. They're not going to make it easy. Or the places I've seen and booked have been 100% refund. Very fortunate there. Very fortunate there. What about going to a different city in Mexico? If you're talking about for me, that's what I did last year. I really was. This time last year, I was not comfortable traveling internationally at all because remember, this time last year, there was no vaccine. We were in the midst of a new wave with record high cases. And I was afraid of getting stuck somewhere. I really felt like, and I still feel like that now, if I'm going to travel internationally, it's got to be someplace I don't mind being stuck. And after being stranded in China, I am very, very leery about that. So last year, I traveled to Chiapas and I traveled to Baja California. But I don't want to make my friend come back she's already doing that for Thanksgiving. So we're doing, because Thanksgiving is not a holiday here, but she is coming here for her Thanksgiving break. So I'm trying not to always be the person that says, oh, well, you got to come to me. Which is why this year we ran through this whole list of, well, what countries can we get in with US passports? What are the requirements? Where are we willing to be stuck? That pretty much ruled out Central America and a lot of places in South America, because I just Brazil. In a normal time, Brazil would make a great place for Christmas and New Year's, but Brazil in a COVID pandemic? No, I don't think so. This is the new normal. You're right, Laurie. We got to get used to it, but I'm still going to complain just a little bit. But no, you're right. This is the new normal. And one of the things I'm wondering about is, are these changes that we're seeing, are they going to be permanent, or is because I hate to be one of those people that say like, oh, things will get back to normal in a few years. Because what is normal, but I'm wondering if these changes are going to be permanent. Is like this what travel is going to look like? I think a lot of us have been working on the assumption that at some point they're going to stop having restrictions about who can enter a country and requiring tests. But I just had a thought. What if the way this particular disease mutates and all that, what if part of travel will just be you have to have a COVID test, like indefinitely into the future? What if that is part of how we travel? I mean, I guess I'd have to suck it up and get used to it, but I'm still struggling with that shift to this new normal for how we travel. Definitely, Janelle, I agree. Definitely, at least for another year or two. The question is it going to last much longer than that? How often do you go back to the States? It hasn't been limited to the pandemic. What's funny is have I been to the US more during the pandemic? I went last October to vote. And then I went again in March, April to get vaccinated. So what is that? Is that like 6 months in between? So far over the last year and a half, it looks like I've gone every 4, 5, 6 months or so. That, I don't know. Typically, the only time I hadn't been to the US in more than a year was when I was living in Asia, because distance and price just didn't make that possible. So I don't know, but all of the reasons that I've gone back to the US is because like I felt like I had to. I was not going just to kick it and hang out, because whatever faults Mexico may have, I will tell y'all here in Mexico City, people have been very observant of like wearing masks and trying to do social distancing and that sort of thing. Now, I'm saying this at the same time that like this weekend coming up, there's going to be a large music festival. I don't know what that's going to look like, but that's why I'm not going, because I can't go places where I think I might catch COVID, because I'm still trying to make it through this thing without catching it. I am vaccinated, which means if I do get it, I shouldn't die, but I'd like to not get it at all. And I will admit, there is the possibility I could have had it and have been asymptomatic. I don't know, but I am trying to avoid that completely. So, choosing a destination has been a struggle. And can we talk about prices? Oh my gosh. I haven't noticed it quite as much with hotels, but I haven't really dug into hotel research yet because I haven't committed to a flight. And I haven't committed to a flight yet because I'm still trying to make sure that I understand the entry requirements. Because the last thing I want to do is drop, $1,500 on a flight to Europe, which should not be costing $1,500. But I realize that that's the going price right now. Last thing I want to do is spend all that money on a flight only to find out that no, you're not allowed in this country. And trying to get direct flights, if they exist, they are cost prohibitive. So I'm trying to find flights that take me through as few countries as possible, but trying to coordinate and make sure that, yes, I meet the criteria to enter my destination country, as well as meeting the criteria to pass through the transit country. Can I transit through this country? What's required to transit through this country? Figuring out, okay, if I need an additional COVID test, how do I get that? Where do I get it? It's driving me crazy. But yeah, prices have gone up a whole lot. Like, y'all know my thing is budget travel. If I pay more than $500 for airfare, I feel some kind of way about that strongly. Other than flying from Mexico City to like Houston, I have not seen any airfare, international airfare for under $500. So that has me in my feelings a little bit as well. So yes, flights are more expensive. I think there will be a lot more slow traveling in the future. I agree with you on that. I think I don't know how you can travel quickly in this climate, in this environment. I don't think you can. Like I mentioned, the last international trip I took that was purely for pleasure was in January of 2020 over about, that's Mia, who just got up to get something to drink. Over, was it like 28, 29 days, I visited 9, 10 different countries. There is no way in hell I could do that now in this environment. So yeah, I think you're right. I think slow travel is the thing. So like going back to this trip, supposedly that's going to happen next month. I don't know if it will, but I'm like, if I'm going through all of the trouble getting a dog sitter and a plant sitter, and I'm going over there, like I need to be there for 3 weeks, a month, something to like make it worth all of the hoops I got to jump through to get there. This is a good point, LLO. This is a very good point. Airlines may have separate requirements than the actual country. You're right. And I can't start sorting through those until I figure out which flight I'm going to take and which airline it is. That is, this all of my angst is coming back because this is all just making this so complicated. And I know, y'all, I know that's a privileged problem to have. I know it is, but it's making it so complicated. 9 countries in 29 days, you're my shero. No, it was so stupid. I don't enjoy fast travel because I don't like, like having to constantly repack my bag. But I did it because we were on break we got a month off for Chinese New Year. And so I was like, I don't know when I'm going to get back to Europe. So let me hit as many places as I could. So that's why I did it. And then in the midst of it, I was reminded how much I hate that much moving around. So I do not recommend it. But I am glad I did it because, the rest of 2020, I didn't get to go anywhere. And my feelings were hurt about that. Quarantine. This is a good question, Eartha. Does anyone know if there are requirements to quarantine for a few days once you get to your destination? I am finding, of course, that this varies by destination, but I think in my head, I had thought we'd move past quarantine, and that is not true. There are still quite a few countries that have some sort of quarantine requirement. I know someone who is a Mexican national who's getting ready to go to Thailand. And for all of the complaints and hassles I'm talking about, she's got even more of them. And she was saying that there's all this documentation she had to send, and then she has to book a service that will pick her up directly from the airport in like a sealed vehicle and take her to a hotel where there has to, like, I forget how many days after she arrives, she has to have another COVID test. And until that test comes in negative, she's limited to where she can go in the country. So quarantine is still a thing. It doesn't necessarily look like it did 12 months ago, but there are some countries that are having quarantine. And so, of course, that's something else to factor in as well as you're trying to sort through this and plan. Let's see. You know what, Janella? I feel you on this because this is exactly how I'm feeling. And y'all know I'm not a math person. because I've mapped it out on a piece of paper and I'm trying to bring together all these pieces and it's driving me nuts. So does anybody know of an app or a website that could simplify this? I will share one that I know of, and I don't think anybody's going to be able to see it. But I've mentioned to y'all that I use TripIt to gather all of my travel information together. And something I noticed when I was putting my trip plans into TripIt, for whatever country it was showing that I would visit, they had like a COVID-19 information link. But here's the thing, I don't know how accurate this information is. Let's see, can y'all see that? Okay, y'all can kind of see that. So let me see if TripIt will come up. Okay, so like so like here it says, you can't see this, COVID-19 summary. You click that and then it tells you what vaccinations are they required, what is the testing, and does that country have a travel app? I just found this in TripIt. Now, of course, the question is, how accurate is this? That I don't know, but this is now an additional source that I will use to cross check the 5 other sources I'm trying to use to plan a trip. So I don't know. Does anybody know of any other app or someplace that is kind of like a universal? If no one has invented this yet, someone really needs to, because it would make life so much easier. Traveling is a headache, and right now my desire to travel is more than like how over this I am. So as long as that's happening, I will continue to plan. But I don't know, y'all. I don't know. So okay, so Kayak may have something similar to this. And what I can't see is where they're pulling this data from. Oh, this is interesting. There's at the bottom, there's a link of the COVID-19 summary page. There's a link that says, for more details, go to COVID-19 guidance. And for your destinations, it tells you what the infection level is. For Mexico, it says medium. Infection level in the United States, extreme. I don't really follow US news much anymore because for my mental health, I needed to stop that. But do y'all feel that that's accurate? That the infection level in the US is extreme? I don't know. I don't know. So, okay, I know airline prices are higher. Are y'all finding hotel prices to be higher as well? Because here, everybody's complaining about Airbnb, extra fees on Airbnb being like more than it is to rent the actual Airbnb. So like I said, I haven't even gotten to the point yet that I can look for hotels. So I don't know if those prices are more, but I'm definitely seeing a bump in airline prices. And here's another issue that I'm running up against, which isn't new. Oh, okay. All right. So hotel prices are crazy too. Lovely. Lovely. The news just gets better and better, doesn't it? What is this nonsense? Rashida told us you found a husband in Mexico. No, ma'am, I did not find a husband. Now, what oh boy might be good for, probably be good for, I would really like somebody who would just bring me tacos. So I don't have to walk 3 streets over to the taco place. I would love a man that passes by on his way home to his house and says, "Here are some tacos for you." I believe this gentleman would probably be that man, but I don't want his tacos. So yeah, no husband for me. I'm not in that business no more, y'all. No. Somebody said that, yeah, Airbnb is passing on the cleaning fees to consumers. Awesome. Say it's just cheaper to rent an apartment for a month or two than Airbnb. Oh, okay. So what you're telling me is after I get over sticker shock of the flight, I'm going to have to brace myself for accommodation. Basically, everything is going to cost more. But one thing that I'm noticed or I am concerned about is, are the attractions even open that I'm hoping to see? This was something, like I said, this isn't something new. This is an issue I've been dealing with kind of since that point in the pandemic where we started to go outside. This time last year, I was sticking very close to Mexico City. And so I'm very used to depending on Google. Anybody who knows me knows I'm the map lady. Give me a Google map and I'm good to go. But I'm noticing that opening hours and stuff like that on Google are still not up to date. Like there's a museum here. There's a museum here that I pass every Thursday when I go to my screen printing class. Google still says it's closed. I walk by it every Thursday. I know it's open. So that also has me concerned that I will book a flight to go to a place to see or do a thing, and then I get there and it's not open. So like one of the big things, one of the reasons we chose Italy for our trip next month is we wanted to do the Prosecco Road. But then it occurred to me, like before, because I was getting to the point, like it's almost a month out, I need to book a ticket. It occurred to me that maybe during a normal year, the wineries would be open around Christmas and New Year's. But with the pandemic, I know that several European countries are starting to see numbers go back up. Are these wineries going to be open? So that's what I spent a big chunk of today doing, emailing like all of these different wineries to see if they're planning to be open. And so far, the first response I got back was like, no. So now I'm thinking, okay, so this then alters like this particular part of the country. This is the only reason I was going. And this was also the place I was looking at flying into. So if I'm not going to go there at all, now I've got to start my airfare search all over. And that's going to impact my dates because I'm trying to pick dates that I can get a one-stop flight as well as not bankrupt myself. So y'all see, like, you see the kind of stress that's happening right now. Let's see, any comments? If y'all got suggestions, if you're out here traveling and you have figured out some hack, please share those. We love travel hacks around here. Heard that COVID numbers are up 6% nationally last week. Yeah, I think numbers like this is something we learned last year is that during the winter, after everybody was outside during the summer, we're likely to see more. So that has me kind of like rethinking things as well. Let's see. No, traveling right now is not for the faint of heart. Like I said, right now, my desire to travel is still higher than my like bump this. I'm tired of this BS. But every day it's kind of doing one of these. So I'm trying to, if you don't get to go to Italy, if I do get to go to Italy, please vlog it. I am hopefully going to do that because the idea for this trip, like I went to Italy when my youngest was 4 months old. I took a group of kids to Italy. And so I have done all the tourist stuff. I don't need to do that. This trip is truly gonna be about eating and drinking and just seeing cool shit. So I am hoping that it happens. It will happen. How much of my mental state is going to stay intact as I try and plan it? That's the magic question. That is really the magic question. Okay. You say businesses are not updating their info, go directly to their websites if they have websites. And see, and that's the problem. Like here, and then in a lot of other countries, it's like that too, where they don't really have websites. Like if you're lucky, they got an Instagram. But it's tricky. Are the numbers safe-ish in Italy? I don't even know. I don't even know. Because here's the other thing. I don't, I don't really like people all that much. Y'all know I don't like crowds. So whatever activities we were contemplating doing, and this goes the same for, because I'm supposed to go to Italy next month. Then I am supposed to go to Panama, Republic of Georgia, Turkey, Morocco. For all of those destinations, I'm not trying to do anything where there are going to be lots of people. If there is one thing I have mastered over the last year is how to explore a place but avoid people at the same time. So I'm going to continue that on these trips. So I'm not concerned about the numbers being high and me catching it because I don't plan on being around a lot of people. My concern is I don't want the numbers to spike and they be like, okay, we got to close borders or we're not going to let people come from certain countries. Like I would rather not travel from the US. One, because of the expense of having to get to the US, and two, because that's an extra COVID test I probably have to take. And three, because for a lot of places, the US is not that high up on countries that they want to let people in from. The problem is Mexico tends to be below them. So it's my only option since that's, where I got a passport from. So I don't really know what the numbers in Italy are doing other than monitoring that, yes, they are still letting tourists in. I really haven't dug too deep into that. See, and this is my concern too, because more likely than not, although for my trip to Georgia, it looks like I should be able to fly as the restrictions are right now. I can fly from Mexico to Germany to the Republic of Georgia, as long as Germany will still let me in. And as of right now, the way I've read the restrictions, they would allow me in from Mexico. Italy will not allow me in from Mexico. Y'all see how much fun this is? I asked for travel hacks, and this is a good one. Yeah, the length of the flight, that's another issue. I have not done a long flight since I left China, because to fly from Mexico City to Houston, that's barely a 2-hour flight. So that's something else that I've been trying not to think about. And again, yeah, I've been trying not to think about that, but that is something I should be worried about. Most of Italy is vaccinated. That's good to know. That's good to know. I mean, Italy has the oldest population in the world, I believe. So, which is why they saw the mortality numbers they did early on. So I would have imagined that they were going to work really hard to get people vaccinated. But just because the people in Italy are vaccinated doesn't mean everybody who's going, well, I guess everybody who is going has to, because I guess it depends on the country you're coming from, whether or not they require you to be vaccinated. Okay. Twin mommy Janice is booking flight deals that are refundable or allow free changes. Okay, Scott's Cheap Travel has some of those. Do you use the paid version of Scott's Cheap Travel, or are these things accessible on the free version? Let me know. Is there a rationale to why you chose these particular destinations? Um, Two of the destinations I chose because of friends. A friend of mine is having her 50th birthday in Morocco. And again, if I'm going to fly in this day and age, if I'm going to fly all the way to the other side of the world, I got to make it worth it. So I was like, okay, so where else can I go in this region? Y'all know that Stephanie and Rashida are doing a meetup in Turkey. Turkey is down the street from Morocco. So that, of course, made sense. Georgia is down the street from Turkey. So to me, in my head, that made sense. And who knows, like if this was pre-pandemic, I'd be like all up in the Balkans. I would add several more countries. Right now, I'm just so far, the ones that I have selected are all ones I can currently get into. And I'm hoping, crossing my fingers that it continues to stay that way. Hey, I went to Poland in January of 2020. I was, yeah, it was after I couldn't get back into China. I went to Poland in 2020. Am I coming to Turkey? Yes, ma'am. I plan to be there. Like I said, it's down the street from Morocco. So, and the dates, like I was leaving Morocco on the 14th anyway. So the dates worked out perfectly. The universe tends to unfold as it should. So I'm supposed to be there, is the way I think of it. Seeing if anybody else had any other hacks. Portugal, like I have been to Portugal more recently. I was in Portugal in 2016, and for my December, January trip, we try not to repeat places that we've done because in 2016, we did Christmas and New Year's in Portugal and Spain. 2018, I had this bright idea, and I take full blame for this. I had this bright idea to like jazz up the Christmas New Year trip and to do a mystery trip. So we made the reservation, paid the money, and we did not find out where we were going until the day before we were supposed to fly out. And you want to guess where we were going? Back to the same place we'd been in 2016, literally the exact same city. And that that New Year's was not, I mean, we had fun. We made, lemonade out of lemons, but so we tried not to repeat places we've been super recently. And I haven't been to Italy in 20 years. My friend hasn't been to Italy in at least like maybe 14, 15 years. So that's kind of how Italy ended up there. For my current travel, I am going to repeat 2 countries. I'm going to repeat Turkey, although I only been to Istanbul and I was like already trying to find a reason to get back to Turkey. I'm going to repeat Italy. Panama will be a new country. Republic of Georgia will be a new country. Morocco will be a new country. Oh, and San Marino will be a new country. I'm going to squeeze in a new country next month because I'm going to go to San Marino. And if y'all don't know, San Marino is one of 5 microstates. It is completely surrounded by Italy. Italy has 2 microstates, Vatican City and San Marino. Then there's Monaco, Liechtenstein, not Luxembourg. What's the other one that's by Luxembourg? Andorra. And I feel like I'm forgetting one. So yeah, San Marino will be a new country for me. Um, does my dog travel with me? Sometimes. And initially, this tells you how much crack I was smoking and how unrealistic I was being. Initially, the plan was to bring her with me to Italy because she is 12 years old. She's still in really good health. You would not know she's an old lady. But I had told myself that if I was going to be gone longer than 2 weeks, I might as well try and bring her with me. So, like when the Morocco trip turned into Morocco and Turkey, I knew trying to bring her, excuse me, I got to sneeze. Ugh. I knew trying to bring her on that would be difficult, trying to coordinate multiple country entry and exit requirements for the dog. Pandemic aside, I knew that would be difficult. But when we decided on Italy, and I know that Italy is a super dog friendly place, like it wouldn't be hard to find a dog friendly hotel. She could come with us to restaurants. I was like, okay, I'll bring the dog. Pre-pandemic, totally, I think would be doable. Trying to coordinate dog stuff and people stuff for COVID, that's just too much. So she won't be going to Italy. Although I would really like to take her. And if it wasn't for the pandemic, she probably totally would be going. Um, what is Portugal like at Christmas time? It's very nice. We had a very, very nice time. I mean, Europe, if you don't mind colder temps, Europe, at least pre-pandemic, because I haven't been back since, was a really cool place to be around Christmas time because of the Christmas markets and the decorations and all of that. Portugal definitely, while I was in Lisbon, had a very nice vibe. I'm not sure what that's going to look like this year. I really don't. And so that's the other thing. We always go somewhere for New Year's Eve. Well, New Year's Eve typically means crowds. I'm not trying to die from COVID so that I can ring in the new year outside with 1 million people. Last year, the resort we were staying at, because like in Cabo, typically people go to the beach, shoot and watch the fireworks. Well, at the beach, I felt like we'd be able to keep our distance from people, blah, blah, blah. Well, because of the situation last year, I don't think they allowed people on the beach. But where our room was located at the resort, right from the balcony, we didn't have to leave the room. So we had champagne, fireworks right from the balcony. It was great. And trying to figure out, well, what is that going to look like this year? It'll probably be dinner and drinks on a balcony somewhere, but you still want it to be festive, but I don't want to be around too many people. So that's something that I'm still sorting out. How many countries have I traveled to? Somewhere in the 40s, I think. I have not been to the Arctic. I That's almost where I went last January 2020, because I have been trying to get to Scandinavia, and because I am a budget traveler, I thought maybe hitting Scandinavia in the winter prices would be cheaper, but it's also a whole of a hell of a lot colder. I say I haven't been to the Arctic, but I have been to Iceland. So that kind of counts, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I went to Krakow in Poland, and I was I was pleasantly surprised. It was a much nicer experience than I was expecting. Let's see. Anything else in the comments? Okay. If I was for the parts of these trips that I am going to be by myself, I will consider hostels. My homegirl is not a hostel kind of girl. So there for the trip she will be on, there will be no hostels. But if it's me, absolutely, because I get down like that. And I've stayed in quite a few of different types of accommodation of varying arrangements. I don't have an issue with that. So yeah. Um, as somebody asked me about where I've been in Africa, so far I have only been to Ghana and Egypt. One of our New Year's trips will be to South Africa. The problem has always been previously that my friend had to work. And, when you're going to fly that far and you're only going to travel for like a week, like it doesn't make sense. So it's not going to be this New Year's, but maybe in a year or two we'll hit up South Africa. And then I want to spend some time in the southern part. Like I want to hit up Botswana and Namibia. So it's on my list. I say that like there are places that are not on my list. I'm a bit of a travel hoe. Like you just mentioned this a trip and I'm ready to go. Or at least that's how I was pre-pandemic. I don't know. Yes, Sheeta is going to Antarctica. Adelia don't have no Antarctica budget. So I may never get to see Antarctica, and I've had to make my peace with that. Uh, yeah. Okay, so is it only 6 microstates? Okay, Malta. That's the one I did not mention. Okay. Okay. I've not done Brazil at New Year. We've considered it a couple of times, but the timing just isn't right. Um, and Australia, I've been trying, y'all, I've had at least 2 separate flights booked to go to Australia that has not worked out. And then when the pandemic started and they closed their borders, I knew I was not going to be able to get there anytime soon. In case you don't know, I am kind of fond of peanut butter. There is a restaurant in Sydney called the Peanut Butter Bar, and I have made it my purpose in life to eat there one day. I'm literally basically going to Sydney, Australia solely to eat at that restaurant. When that is going to happen, I don't know. So far, the universe has decided it needs to wait for a little bit. So I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but eventually I will get there. So, I think we have kind of reached a consensus that travel is a struggle right now. And nobody's found too many ways to work with that. Like you all have said, book things that are refundable. Try and book directly versus using a third party site in case you have to cancel. And the thing we haven't talked about, which is absolutely necessary, if you never did this before, you totally need to be doing this now if you travel, and that's having travel insurance. Because if you want to get your money back, or not even just getting your money back for things that get canceled, but y'all, the last few weeks, we've seen airlines cancel hundreds of flights for seemingly no reason to us. Now, behind the scenes, I'm sure there's a reason, but having your flight canceled by the airlines and there's no way for you to get where you got to go, that's going to impact your hotel reservations, your excursions, and all of that. And the only way you can hope of recovering those costs is if you have travel insurance. Now, this is a separate product from like travel health insurance. We're not talking about that. I'm talking about, like I can't go on my trip. There was a delay on my trip. My bags got lost. That kind of travel insurance. And if I have one tip for y'all at all, do not buy the travel insurance from the airline, or if you book through Expedia, do not buy their insurance, because what is their incentive to pay you if they are the reason that things get messed up? Okay. So you book with Delta and you buy their insurance, And you ever notice in the language, it's always for if your flight is canceled for approved reasons. And then when you go to that list of approved reasons, none of it is the stuff that actually happens, or they will make sure that the reason your flight gets canceled isn't one of those approved reasons. So get travel insurance and get it from an independent source. Do not, because again, I see a conflict of interest in there. Like, would you buy, this is a horrible analogy, but like, would you buy life insurance from a murderer? I know that's a horrible analogy, but that's the first one that came to my mind. There is a conflict of interest there. Insurance, the whole idea of insurance is for them not to pay you out. And if you're buying it from the person who's responsible for getting you there, and they're supposed to give you the money back because they didn't get you there, like, that doesn't make sense. When this is over, I will put a link. I've got a link for a website. I think it's travelinsurance.com, but I have a link for a website where you can go and sort of compare policies. That will help you, like, compare prices, compare coverage, that sort of thing. But I think, like we said, book things that are refundable, having travel insurance, continually monitoring the situation, whether you're using, like I pointed out, the thing in TripIt, where they're giving you like the COVID-19 thing, monitoring if you go to the State Department website or you go to the embassy website for the country that you're thinking about, they have, so basically we've got to do more work. If we're going to travel now, we've got to do more work to stay on top of what are the policies, what are happening, because the changes are out of our control. There's nothing we can do about that. But to handle those changes the best we can, that's where the travel insurance and the being flexible comes from. Oh yeah, Redeemed. I got a dark side in here. Y'all just don't know. All right. Thank y'all for joining me tonight. If you are watching this on the replay and you have a pandemic travel hack, something to make this crazy process easier, please drop that in the comments. I am so glad that I was able to help somebody. I know, because see, here's the thing. I think people are inherently lazy. And I don't mean that as a bad thing, but convenience often makes us trump our common sense. And they're offering it right there. It's like, oh, easy, bam, I'm covered. But yeah, I don't believe they have any interest, or they don't have any solid reason to help me out. So I would prefer it to be independent. All right. Thank y'all for coming to hang out with me on another Wednesday. I will be back live next Wednesday. My homegirl gets to town that day, I think. So I don't know what that live's going to look like, but I am still going to go live here next week. Thank y'all for coming to hang out. Have a good rest of your Wednesday, and I will see y'all later. Bye, guys.